Dr. Charlie Johnson, a physical therapist here who specializes in helping people find healthy, natural solutions to pain problems instead of things like meds, injections, or surgery. So in today's video, I want to talk about why surgery, injections or shots, as well as pills and medication will always be, no matter what they come out with. So, they're coming out with fake discs or artificial discs and all kinds of different ways to fuse the spine and fix arthritis and things like that. I'm the first to, I'll call this out now. I never think that's going to be a solution. In fact, we already have the most advanced surgical techniques. We still have, the highest prevalence of pain problems and poor responses to surgery. So evidence is coming out all over the place that surgery is no better than fake surgery and or conservative care in many cases. So with that being said, I want to talk about why that is only a temporary fix versus why I think PT is the best option for you if you're in pain. So let me start out with this question. Have you ever noticed, right, that, maybe your shoulder starts to hurt, your back starts to hurt, right? And when does it hurt? It hurts when you do certain motions, or a certain motion like bending over to feed the dog or the cat, or tying your shoes, or reaching behind the car seat brought on the symptom. So a movement brought on the pain, right, or the problem. But when you go to see the family physician or the surgeon, they don't actually take you through any movements, right? So it's like saying, hey, going to the mechanic and saying, hey, when I turn my wheel to the left, it squeaks, right? But they don't actually ever drive it and turn the wheel to the left, right? So instead, they rely on a static image, which you don't hurt when you're just sitting there or when you're lying down, right? And then they try to apply that. So it's a movement problem. There needs to be a movement evaluation associated with that. I think that makes sense. So again, one of the reasons that this is only a temporary fix, these pills, surgery, things like that, is because number one, it's passive. So and what I mean by that is that somebody's doing something to you, right? So in yesterday's video, I kind of used the analogy of like the math teacher always doing the homework for you, right? So when the test comes or when the problem comes up again, you don't actually know how to solve it. So, if somebody's in there, if somebody's giving you a tablet or giving you an injection or giving you, surgery, then, they're not empowering you to take control of this problem and handle it yourself, right? So you don't actually learn anything through the process because you're relying on somebody else to do your homework, right? So you're going to fail the test when it comes to a time when, your pain is going to come back, right? You're not going to know how to handle it. So the other thing is this. So it treats the symptoms, not the cause, right? And what I mean by that is picture this. So picture outside. I don't know, I wish it was summer now, but it's not. It's cold and nasty out. And there's a big bonfire going, right? So somebody's over there pouring gasoline into the fire, right? And obviously there's a huge fire, right? Everyone's freaking out because the fire is getting out of control, right? What would be best, right? So would you just put out the fire and leave the person to continue to pour the gasoline in? No, that would be crazy, right? The best way to put out the fire would be, hey, first, let's kill the dude who's pouring the gasoline in or get him out of here, right? So get rid of the gas tank, right? And then put out the fire, right? So the point is that pills, injections, and surgery kind of work on the back end. So something started the fire, usually a specific movement. PTs are sort of movement specialists, right? We understand how the body moves and how that relates to pain, right? So, so you do a certain movement, it causes a fire, and then the pills, injections, or surgery, they're standing on this side of the crowd, right, trying to put out the fire, when the PTs are the smart folks who are saying, no, there's a specific movement that caused that. What is the root cause of the fire? Hey, that guy pouring the gasoline, we got to get him out of here. Hey, that specific movement, right, that you've been doing is causing your symptoms and starting the fire, nicking the scab over and over again. So, you're going to feel really good temporarily if someone pours some water on it or some steroids or whatever it is. But at the end of the day, if you don't fix sort of what's causing it, then it's just going to keep flaring up. So hopefully that makes sense. So think of it like this, right? So imagine, this is a fishbowl analogy. Imagine that you're a fish, right? You're just swimming around your fishbowl, and you've got like a broken fin, right? So what a lot of people do, right, is they, you're swimming around, they take you out of the fishbowl, they flop you on their table. I'm going to sneeze. Excuse me. God bless, if you said it, thanks. Right, and they treat your broken fin, right? So they're like, oh, we'll patch you up, whatever. And they say, okay, we'll see you next week, right? But then what they do is they take you as a fish, right, and they flop you back in the fishbowl. And that fishbowl is real messy, right? So that fishbowl is analogous to like your environment, right? So, you've got, what you're doing at work all day. You've got how far or how long you drive throughout the day, how much you sit, what you have to lift, You've got family and other stresses. Maybe you've got financial things. So you have to consider that all of these things create a very messy fishbowl. And if you just take yourself out, remove yourself, put yourself on a plinth or a surgical table and fix your broken fin, right? And then you throw yourself back into the same environment that got you there, it's not going to work too well, right? So you've got to put out the fire, clean up your fishbowl, clean up your environment, and optimize that environment for healing. So again, pills, injection, surgery, they treat the symptoms generally, not the cause. And again, these are movement problems, and therefore they require a movement solution. So get this, there are really two types of pain, right? So there's one type of pain that we'll call chemical pain. And just to make it super simple, that's like inflammation. That's true inflammation, all right? And then there's other problems that are mechanical or movement problems. So a chemical problem is going to be something that, again, there's a true inflammatory response. So it hurts all the time. The pain is severe. You can't sleep at night. No matter what you do, you can't find a comfortable position, right? That just screams that there's an inflammatory process going on, right? And therefore, a chemical problem or inflammatory problem might respond well to something that reduces inflammation, an anti-inflammatory, a steroid, something like that, right? So notice a lot of you, right, might have a movement or mechanical problem, which is a problem that is brought on by movement. But when you stop the movement, symptoms pretty much chill out, right? If your knee hurts when you run, but then you stop running, knee feels okay, right? So it's brought on by doing something. So, if you have a scab, and you bend your knuckle, it's going to hurt. But then if you do this, it might not hurt, right? So there's a specific movement or a mechanical problem there, and it's not inflammatory, right? It's maybe not keeping you up at night. The pain is not severe. It just hurts when you do it, and then it's off when you don't do it. So with that being said, right, that mechanical problem or movement problem requires a movement or mechanical solution. So if you're mismatching the two, if you actually have a movement problem, right, which is not an inflammatory process, you're going to be taking Advil, anti-inflammatories, all these different things, right, and it's not going to be helping you. So if you have a pain problem and your symptoms are not getting any better, it's because it's a movement-based problem and there's probably not actually any inflammation going on, right? So don't be stumped by that. That's probably what's happening. And what I would say, right, is a simple exercise, just to wrap this up here, a simple exercise that you could do at home, right, to get in touch with this movement problem, I'm going to share this in a moment, is to basically get in touch with your pain, right? So, and what I mean by that is that, like we talked about, you need to clean your fishbowl and put out the fire. So we need to unload the problem, and whatever movement is irritating a tissue, we need to figure out how to make it less irritated, right? So we need to take, take a piece of paper, fold it in half, and on one side, just draw a frown face, all right? And on the other side, draw a smiley face. And really what this stands for is you want to have one side of the paper where you write all the things that make you feel better, right? So maybe it's taking a long walk, maybe it's getting up and moving at work, maybe it's, doing a certain stretch or something like that, right? And then on the other side of the paper, with the frown face, underneath the frown face, you want to write all the things that make your pain or problem worse, right? So you really want to get in touch with this, right? And get this, if you can clearly list out the things that make you feel better and the things that make you feel worse, right? You might notice that they're sort of lopsided, but it doesn't really matter, right? If you can figure out what reproduces or makes your pain worse, right? Meaning, if you can figure out what turns the light on, you can almost always figure out what turns the light off. So if you can make your pain or problem worse by a certain movement, then you can almost always make it better, right? If we can turn the light on, pretty much, at least as long as I've been alive, you can almost always shut it off, all right? So with that being said, right, the exercise at the end of this is take a piece of paper, smiley face, frown face, right? And you want to figure out and you want to establish what movements make my pain better and what movements make my pain worse. And that will help you, right, figure out and get in touch with your pain problem. So if it's a movement problem and you can make it better, make it worse, stop trying to treat it with a chemical solution or an anti-inflammatory. Understand that pills, injections, and surgeries, they put out the fire, they attempt to. There might not even be any fire to begin with, right? But on the front end, we really need to figure out what's causing it, what started the fire to begin with, and that's That's how we're smart about solving the problem. All right, so with that being said, go ahead, try that exercise. And then once you know what makes it feel better and what makes it feel worse, right, you want to tip the scale such that you start to do more of what makes it feel better and less of what makes it feel worse. So you need to temporarily, right, modify, tweak, or change something about the symptoms that are making you worse such that you can, again, better optimize your healing environment and start to feel better. So again, 484-552-3767 if you need help. Yeah, would love to chat. So thanks, everyone. Have a good one. It says my battery's low. I can't shut it off. One sec. All right, we're good. See you, everyone.